My name's Layne Norton. I have a BS in biochemistry and a Ph3 in nutritional sciences. I'm a competitive pro natural bodybuilder and powerlifter. In this video, I'm going to teach you about the OneRep Max, why it's important for you, why it's useful to know it, and how to actually test it. So what is the OneRep Max? Your OneRep Max is defined as the amount of weight that you can lift for one rep on any given lift. Many people think that the OneRep Max is only useful for powerlifters, and while it's much more important for them, it's still useful to know your ultimate strength as a bodybuilder from time to time. The OneRep Max is important to know because not only is it the ultimate measure of strength, but it can also help you properly build out your training block. For example, if I want to do hypertrophy-specific work, staying at about 3 sets of 10 reps, I know that I should be training about 75% of my OneRep Max. This will allow me to complete the reps and sets and set up an appropriate amount of specific weight for that exercise. If I didn't know my OneRep Max, I might have to go by feel, and perhaps I set the weight too high and fail, or too low and it's too easy. By knowing your OneRep Max, you can objectively set up these training programs. Now, technically, you can test your OneRep Max on any movement, but I think it's most useful for compound movements. So now that you understand why it's useful to know your OneRep Max, we're going to talk about how to actually test for it based on your experience level. Here's the protocol I recommend for people who have less experience testing their OneRep Max. What I want you to do is use the Bodybuilding.com OneRep Max calculator on this page. For whatever exercise you want to find out your OneRep Max, take a weight and a number of reps that you know you can do. Plug that into the calculator, and that will give you an estimated OneRep Max. It will also provide you with various percentages of that OneRep Max, so you can use it in the future to build out programs. Once you've entered that in, take 90% of that estimated OneRep Max, and we're going to use this to test. So I want you to go into the gym, do the warm-up that we're going to discuss later in this video, and then take 90% of that OneRep Max and do it for as many reps as you can. Now take that number of reps you get, go back to the Bodybuilding.com calculator, and refigure your OneRep Max. Using the 90% for reps is going to give you a much more accurate representation of your estimated OneRep Max. So now I'm going to break down how to test for lifters who have more experience with a OneRep Max. Once your stretching and mobility work are done, I recommend warming up on a lift in the following way. To actually test, you're going to be doing 6 warm-up sets and then 3 attempts. On the first set, you're going to do 30% of your calculated OneRep Max for 8 reps. Then 40% for 6 reps, 50% for 4 reps, 60% for 2 reps, 70% for a single, and 80% for a single. Once you've done your 80% for a single, you're ready to begin your attempts. I recommend resting between each warm-up set as long as you need to be mentally and physically prepared for the next set. Now, if you're feeling stiff while warming up and think you need an extra warm-up set or 2, that's fine. But don't go overboard. You don't want to wear yourself out by the time you actually get to testing. On the flip side, you don't want to do too few warm-ups. If you do the appropriate amount of sets, it's not going to wear you out. It's just going to ready your body for your ultimate OneRep Max. For OneRep Max testing, I recommend your first attempt be approximately 90 to 94% of your current or estimated OneRep Max. If your last warm-up felt really easy, I would go to the higher side of that range. If your last warm-up felt heavier, then I would go to the lower side of that range. For your second attempt, I recommend anywhere from 96 to 100% of your current or estimated OneRep Max. If your first attempt felt really heavy, I would go more towards the lower end of that range. If it felt really light, I would go towards the higher end of that range. For your final attempt, I recommend 100 to 104% of your current or estimated OneRep Max. If your second attempt felt really heavy, go towards the lower end. If it felt really light, go towards the higher end. Because you're using as heavy a weight as possible, testing your OneRep Max can be dangerous, so I recommend using a good spotter. I also recommend using as good a form as you possibly can. If you squat high, you bounce the bar off your chest on bench press, or you hitch your deadlifts, you're going to get a higher number than you should. Thus, the weights are going to be too heavy when you go into your program, and you're going to miss weights and it's not going to be effective. How often you retest is really going to depend on your goals. If you're a powerlifter and somebody who's strength specific, you're probably going to test it a little bit more often than you would if you're a bodybuilder. If you're a bodybuilder, maybe you're looking at every 3 to 6 to even 12 months because it's not specific to your goals. But it's useful to have to build out your training blocks. If you're looking to bring your training to the next level and utilize your OneRep Max, I recommend checking out my Ph3 trainer here on Bodybuilding.com. In 13 weeks, you'll increase strength and muscle mass significantly. For more free videos and articles from me and other great contributors, keep coming back to Bodybuilding.com.